Before I get into today's video, I just wanted to show you what we have going on here. If you follow along with the channel, you've seen this farm before. Last year, we started taking the rental farmer off this property and starting some regenerative farming techniques that we can start building the soil back up. We've got very poor soil with compaction, low nutrient levels, low carbon levels. Organic matter is non-existent. So we did some logging down in here, did a seed tree cut on this portion to thicken this up for bedding. There's a swamp here for bedding and some thicket here for bedding. So increasing bedding, and then we're going to have food up on this side of the property. One of the things we did was create a screening with big blue stem and miscanthus along this development here. Today we're going to plant corn, and that corn is going to go in as an edge cover that will hide all the rest of the fields. It's going to go all the way around here, and it'll be in this field. And the landowner feels that the deer aren't coming out because they just don't have the screening and the security. I'm not sure that's true, but he wants corn, so we're going to put corn in. The thing about corn is that it's very expensive to plant, and you have to use a lot of things that are against regenerative ag. Okay, if you look at the corn seeds, I'll post a picture of it. It's covered with toxic chemicals. You have to spray these fields, burn them down. You have to plant, use a lot of chemical fertilizers, and then you have to spray it again with more herbicide later and more nitrogen fertilizer later. So it's very intensive management and very expensive and not good for the environment. Corn is an ecological disaster, in my opinion, and I don't like it. The other thing is that when you plant corn in bear country, you're going to get bears. Bears scare deer away, and they eat your corn, and then your corn's gone, and you spend all that money for nothing. So keep those things in mind when you're thinking about corn. You need a lot of space to put it in, and you better have deep pockets. Okay, so what we're going to do today, last year, the farmer had planted some pasture grass in here, and he wanted to take a couple cuttings of hay. So this field last year did not get planted, and this field did not get planted. But I did plant this one in a summer cover, which will remain through this summer, and then we'll put a fall crop in there. It just looks so good right now that I don't want to terminate. Same with this field. Both fields look really good. And we'll be able to get, well, right now we have good weed control, which is great. This field was solid weeds when we started, and looks good now. And I think turkeys can use these fields, fawns can lay down in there. This field is getting heavy use. This was a fall planted food plot last year, and it is bouncing back nicely. Lots of collards, chicory in there that deer are feeding on. So we're just going to leave that alone for now. So today we're going to plant this field that we took away from the farmer. He had orchard grass in these two fields, and so that the two of them add up to about 6 acres. And we're going to plant those with an 8-way summer cover crop mix. Then come fall, we'll replant this field and this field and this field in our fall. Okay. This field is so full of crimson clover and wheat and oats that I think we could probably let that stuff mature, mow it and cull the packing, probably add a little bit of seed, and I think we can get a good stand coming back in the fall. So I think that about covers it. This area down in here is going to be replanted to clover, and that'll be like a clover plot, and that's when they first come out of the woods, start heading out to feed. So let's get into it. I hope you enjoy it. This field last year was full of ragweed and thistle and some other things, but this is daisies and daisy fleabane, and it's all chewed off. They're eating that more than anything else right now. Look at that. Daisy fleabane. And then in another field where we planted last year's summer cover crop, there's some beautiful chicory coming in. And they're pounding that chicory pretty hard. But this is what they're eating here. I don't care about my wheat and crimson clover. Once it gets to where it's making a seed head, then it's just not very interesting anymore. Now what you could do is let these annual clovers go to seed. This one's already making seed. Look at that. And you could just run this over. You just mow it and cull the packet, and you get a whole new stand of crimson clover. Maybe add a little clover to it. Here's a winter pea. They're partaking of the tips of that as well. These winter peas are doing really well. Very happy with the way this field went. Dan says they're not eating these peas, and they're eating his garden peas, but they're eating them. They're just nipping the tips off, see? So we're overwhelmed with food here. Plenty of food. And it's a nice looking field, and it's going to build soil in here. This place was a mess when I got a hold of it. The compaction was so bad. We're trying to square that away. Look at that. They really chewed that pea off good. But they really don't chew it all the way down, and they just take the growing tips off of them. There's so much food here that you can hardly see the browse pressure, which is good because you have more food than the deer need, way more. So how do you grow big antlers and twin fawns, which is what we're looking for? You just got to overwhelm them with food. All right, so Dan wants corn. I'm not a big corn guy. I'd rather see a field like this, but if he wants corn, we'll give him corn, and we're going to make a screen all the way along. Now, last year I did miscanthus, and I'll put a link to that video down below so you can see how we did that. And the miscanthus isn't mature yet. It's only, maybe shin high right now. We put blue stem in there. I don't even see the blue stem. Hopefully it's coming up. But it takes 3 years for those kinds of plantings to develop. An alternative to that might be, that's a permanent solution, but an alternative might be to put something like sorghum Sudan in there, so you have tall cover in 1 year, one growing season. Look at these peas that have already gone to flower. These are brassicas that went to flower. So plenty of pollinator food here. Plenty of deer food. There's cover. It's loose enough cover that, poults can run around in there and bug. I'm pretty happy with it. Look at that. Dan got himself a brand new Genesis. So we're going to give it its maiden voyage here. Doesn't have a scratch on it. We've got to fix that. Look at that. Clean as a whistle. Okay, so we set up the Genesis at a 1/2 inch depth, set the gate for 2 and the rate for number 4, and we'll see what that looks like. That should be right for soybeans, and everything else would carry, and then we have it pretty shallow in case the small seeds struggle to get up out of there. But the nice thing about these drills, man, normally on most seed drills you'll see some seeds that end up on top. There is nothing on top here. I wasn't even sure it was feeding out until I looked down between the disc openers, but I'm real happy with these Genesis 5s. I think they're a great drill. Okay, so even though we got a nice burn down here, we planted the corn, but you can see that now that the weather's getting hotter, we're starting to get some other grasses. That could be foxtail coming, horse nettle. Wouldn't hurt to hit this again, give it a post-emergent, or even something nasty like a tri-volt or something like that. We'll see. But that's just what I hate about corn, is that it takes a lot of babying to get it to grow. So you have to spray, fertilize, spray some more, fertilize some more, possibly put on a fungicide if you got a problem. It's just one thing after another. Now this seed is all treated and it's all GMO seed, so it's really expensive, but you could just go over this once it's up, hit it with another dose of glyphosate, probably mid-June, 6 weeks from now, and you'd probably get yourself a good corn crop. But we don't need, it's just a food plot, so we don't absolutely need maximum yield. We want it for cover and some winter emergency food. That's it. This is the area that we did a seed tree cut on last year. This whole area was closed canopy, nothing growing on the forest floor, deer weren't using it. A whole bunch of deer just ran out that way. They were hanging around right in there. And I'm in here looking for seedlings, and I don't see a lot of oak, but I do see some yellow poplar. And of course birch, and then there's blackberry growing, that's good. Barberry, that's not great. You can see how the stump sprouts are getting beat up by the deer. So blackberry, hickory, birch. And of course the ubiquitous beech tree. Yellow poplar is pretty easy to regenerate. Oak is very difficult. I was hoping to see a few oak seedlings, but not seeing them, so. But at least it's green. Some flowers over there. That's nice. Better, but not great yet. I think we need about 5 years of growth in here, and we'll see what it looks like. Hopefully it won't come back all beech and birch. Sensitive fern. The good news is we're getting a good amount of blackberry, so that's good. That'll thicken up, provide browse and bedding areas in here, so not too bad. Okay, we're back over in Center County now, about 150 miles away from where I just was, and I had this landowner till this area up. There's a strip here that grows decent clover. Because it's in the shade, it stays moist down in here. And this is where the deer start. They start in the strip over in here. And then they work their way out to the main food plot, which we planted last week. So the way we're doing this today, we don't have equipment anymore except for Tom's tractor, and he tilled this up. We'll spread seed on it. Right now he's putting in red clover and trophy rape, and then we're going to put a layer of oats on that, and then we'll take a cultipacker over it. You can see that it's nice and fluffed up, so when we cultipack it and run over it a couple of times, it should pack in good enough to get that seed started. This is the field that we planted last week, and you can see it's pretty brittle already. We sprayed this about a month ago, but you can see how fast, without a little bit of cover to reflect that hot sun, it's really difficult to get anything to grow in here because it's south facing, silty soil, and it just doesn't hold moisture. So let's see if we can find some plants coming up. Here's a bean trying to germinate. Right there's probably a brassica buckwheat, it looks like. There's some little guys here. There's a pea. So it's coming. At first glance it doesn't look like anything's growing, but I think we get one more rain on this. Now that the sun's out, it only stopped raining yesterday, so the sun's out and beating down here. It's going to warm the soil up a lot, and that should come flying out of the ground. I hope the deer lay off of it a little bit so it'll grow. So check back in a month and we'll do some updates on these projects.